Evening, guys and girls. This is a special preview podcast here with my good friends, Mr. Brian Adams himself, Mr. Dave Begley. So very famous from being on my sofa a few years ago, mate. The last one I did with I think my old laptop before I actually got decent bloody equipment, mate. But yeah, tell us that Foster one before we went live, because I think it's quite funny, mate.
Yeah, Ben Foster did a interview a few weeks ago. I think it's on YouTube, but he was talking about his time when he was still officially registered at United, but he was on loan at Watford to begin with when he was a lot younger, and it was under the time when Boothroyd was in charge. I think it was the year you guys were up in the Premiership under Boothroyd. And you had a match, an evening match, and he'd got his timings mixed up. And he turned up with about 25 minutes, half an hour to go before kickoff. So he'd missed most of the warm-up. And he was absolutely petrified of what Boothroyd was going to say. And Boothroyd was very calm and collected and just said, no, don't worry about it. Just go out there, do your training and everything. Just get ready for the match. And didn't say much to him afterwards. And then when it came to international break, Boothroyd said, right, you're going back up to Manchester to do training at Old Trafford for the international break. And he saw that Boothroyd had got a dossier on him for his time. He's like, what's that? It's like, oh, it's something for Fergie. He's like, you've not told him anything, have you? Anyway, he got back to Manchester United's training grounds during the international break, and before he'd even gone out on the training pitch, he was called up to the office to see Ferguson, and Ferguson had been told everything by Boothroyd, and the first words were, "Who the effing hell do you think you are, turning up late for Watford? You're representing Manchester United, how dare you?" And gave him the hairdryer treatment.
Well,
so
he
wasn't late for what? So he wasn't late again for Watford afterwards, so it did work.
It did, mate. I do fancy us on Saturday. I know that I'm saying it to you, but whenever I've spoken to you in the past about like even Watford games or, especially the United games, we always have you on. I used to have you, like I say, I had you on the sofa here plenty of times, and you always, with me and Dino, I've got to go way back with you. Being the all-star goalkeeper that you are for our five-a-side teams all the time, mate, as well. Even though I'd just like to add, when you came off in concussion, we got 4 points in the group. I'm not. I don't remind you every time I see you, do I, mate? But yeah. So, like I said, I do fancy us on Saturday. Which look, this is not me being confident. But
I'd like to think I made up for it in other tournaments after that.
Yeah, you sort of did a little bit about 100 times over, but there you go. Yeah, it did, mate. But look. Yeah, looking at both defences though on Saturday, we're not exactly both defences not exactly watertight, are they?
I think United will win. I think both teams need to get a reaction. I think, but well, United's most in terms of the team have got the most wins against Watford compared to other teams, but. I think there'll be goals. I think there'll be goals in it. Mm.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be goals. The problem is, I spoke to a lot of mates who are Watford as well, and we said the thing is, though, we don't want to get a free kick outside the box because who will probably end up bloody doing us over with that. I think so. Yeah, I think that'll be a bit of a dodgy decision that if we start giving away silly free kicks from outside our box, mate. Right, having a bit of trouble with his Wi-Fi. Hang on, we got it back on.
Yeah, sorry, I lost connection there. Sorry about that, Pidge.
No, you're good, mate.
Yeah, I think there will be goals in it because both, like you said, both defenses are pretty poor. I think it'll be 3-2 to United. I think United will just sneak it, but I think there'll be goals in it. I'm saying going that based off United's or generally seem to get a result against Watford. I know there was that year where you did beat us. I think it was under Mourinho at Vicarage Road, but we generally tend to get a result against Watford. Although they have been generally been tight games over the years. I said I think it'll be 3-2 to United would be my score prediction. I'm just getting that in early, but I can understand. But I can understand why you would be confident, given the fact that at the moment morale at United isn't great, and given the results against both Liverpool and City, United need a reaction, and given the rumours about Solskjaer at the moment that have been coming out during the international break, that doesn't help the situation either. So
yeah. Pressure's mounting on it. I mean, look at the amount of money you spent compared to us. I mean, you should think contrasting 2 seasons, because 2 different seasons, between us and you. But we, obviously we haven't got much money. We've just got promoted. We're spending, cutting our cloth, like, I'll take the words out of Ray's mouth, Sir Ray's mouth, where he always, not so harks on, always preaches that, Watford, and I agree with him, that Watford cut their cloth accordingly, or try to anyway. And we've signed, we've had to really reinvent ourselves, like we did under Kike Sanchez Flores the first time, and bring in a whole new batch of players, and we're still learning. But compared to you, you're kicking on. You signed the likes of Sancho, which personally, being, Dortmund being my favourite German side, he was absolutely sensational alongside Royce. And I thought when he came to you guys, I went, oh my God, what signing that is. And obviously, like Raphael Varane as well. Looking at that defence, okay, Maguire's getting a lot of stick at the moment, and quite rightly, because he's been crap. But you could
say that about the entire back 7, to be honest, at the moment. I mean, Maguire has been awful, but people say that De Gea's having a good season. From speaking personally, I think De Gea's been pretty poor this year, to be honest. He's made a few what I would call average shot-stopping saves. He still doesn't dominate his area. The amounts of crosses which United concede, where it comes across the 6-yard box and he stands on his line, looks at the defenders in front of him, they all look around. Nobody attacks the ball, which when the ball comes across, the ball is a danger. You go and attack the ball. So I don't think he's been great this year. Nobody in that back 4 has been, other than Varane, when he's been there, he's picking up injuries, but when he plays, he does make a difference in our back 4. So it gives, in that he is solid, and I think he's still a good player. Fred and McTominay neither of those two inspire confidence. Matic has been a good player, but I know he's had a couple of injuries, and he also had his appendix out last year, and he's lost some mobility. So I don't think he's quite the player that he was. In terms of spending that you mentioned, United have spent a lot of money, but it's how you spend your money.
Yeah.
And a lot of the buys, Ronaldo obviously, becomes available, you sign him. Yeah. But a lot of the signings that we've made we've paid a lot of money, but they've been, I'm not sure whether you call them panic signings, but they don't feel like, sometimes United feel like they go out and just spend money for the sake of buying a player rather than, and then finding out where he's going to slot into the system afterwards. It's not just under Solskjaer, it's been under Mourinho, it's under Van Gaal, it goes back. And a lot of the time when I look at some of these signings, some of them I'm sure are Solskjaer signings, but some you look at and you're thinking, is this a manager signing, or is this coming from above him? Well, the old saying, a fool and his money is soon parted, that you can splash the cash, but it's how you get players to click as a team. And a lot of the times this year, when United have got results, a lot of it has been individual moments, like Ronaldo in the Champions League, the amount of times he's bailed us out in matches, individual moments rather than the team working effectively together.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, you got to look at it, and you can say the same sort of thing with us. Are we bringing in players to fit a certain system and how the manager plays? Like, for example, when Isco was in charge, we were signing these players. Are these signings fitting in with how he likes to play, or how he liked to play? Where it was more of a, obviously a lot of the games that we saw were terrible and it weren't going to the game plan. But with Isco, he liked to play pressing. I mean, similar to Ranieri. Ranieri, usually his favourite formations 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2, but one slightly behind, like Mahrez and Vardy did at Leicester.
Yeah.
But these signings, it goes the same with Solskjaer. And like you said, is it a Solskjaer signing, or is it a board decision where to either sensationalise or buy them because they're just available? And you look at it, both is exactly the same. Does it fit the system that these managers are playing? Hence January, when obviously it becomes available, money, or options become available for us. We need to bring in the signings that fit the ethos and the way that Ranieri's playing to kick us on. The same with you guys. Are they buying these players to fit Solskjaer's?
Well, for example, I was always convinced Pogba was an Ed Woodward signing, not a manager's signing. I'm not convinced he would have been a Van Gaal signing. I don't think Mourinho would have gone out of his way to get him. I don't think Solskjaer personally would have gone and bought him.
No.
I think that was a board signing. But also, you do have the issue, if you keep chopping and changing managers as well, if you throw that into the mix, you have different managers with different ethos. You have some players there, say, for example, with United, you got some Van Gaal players. You had who Mourinho came in. Mourinho didn't fancy Van Gaal's players. You then have Mourinho's players. Solskjaer then comes in. Solskjaer looks at it. Some he fancies, some he doesn't. So you then got a kind of a mix of different managers with different styles. And while managers may be similar in some regards, I think with Watford have the same thing as well, because you keep changing the managers in such a short space of time that you then get different players coming into Watford who might fit one manager's system, but they don't fit another manager's system. So certainly with Watford, with Ranieri, I could see Ranieri in the January transfer window bringing in players of his own that he wants for Watford, or changing things to suit him.
Yeah. We need to do that. We need to do that. And I think if you're right in what you say, and some of them have been Ed Woodward signings, then if you're going to back Solskjaer with all this cash, you've got to say, right, okay, who do you want? We'll go out and get them as long as it fits our price range. It's similar to us, but in a much smaller scale. Here's our budget. If it fits our way that we're spending our money and it fits in our budget, then we will accommodate you the best we can. With us, it was more to do with bringing players that are ready and in the now rather than the future. We have brought in a couple, but I think Bar being one of them. I think the German under-21 international looks very, very good. We've got a future Nigerian player, Nigerian midfielder, I believe, but we've just signed a Nigerian goalkeeper. He's gone straight to.
I heard he's
Rotterdam. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Good player.
Well, bringing him in might create a bit of competition for the goalkeeping spot, because I know it's been changing around. At the start of the season, you had a goalkeeper in, then you put Foster back in between the sticks. So it creates competition, which can be a good thing. But you want players on their toes rather than just thinking, doesn't matter how I perform because I'll play again next week regardless. One of the things with United, and where I think United are, is under this current board and under the Glazers, there is an attitude of get top four for the Champions League money. And that's what it's about. If you win something, it's very nice, but it doesn't. Yeah. But I think what United fans want, and say some of the ex-United players, when you see them doing media, that they want United winning trophies like they did under Ferguson or under Busby, if you go back far enough. And I think the Glazers' remit is get top four. If Solskjaer gets top four, at the end of this season, then he'd be safe in a job. I think, which has been proven in the past with Mourinho and also Van Gaal in his first season. Van Gaal in his second season didn't get Champions League, but won the FA Cup. He got the sack. Moyes, as soon as Moyes couldn't make Champions League in his first year, he was then shown the door. Mourinho didn't look like he was going to make Champions. I think that everything was falling apart in Mourinho's third season. Didn't look like he was going to make Champions League, so they got rid of him. I think if he gets that stage of Solskjaer, that's when they'll show him the door. But what I haven't enjoyed, particularly during the break with United, is the fact you're getting all these rumours coming out of the club about all these different managers, and the board is staying silent. To me, you should either be coming out and saying, we gave Solskjaer a new contract in the summer, and we review things at the end of the season. By doing that, by backing him like in that way, it's kind of not saying we're committed to 3 years, but it might get some of the players to start pulling their fingers out, so putting a performance, saying he's here till the end of the season, or you sack him.
Yeah,
back him or sack him. But this kind of keeping quiet and then allowing these rumours to manifest doesn't help anyone. It's not the first time it's happened at United. This happened under Van Gaal in his second season, and it's happened towards the end of Mourinho's time. So I think there were some of the problems at United. I mean, United have got some problems, I think, on the pitch. I think Solskjaer, while he's got Mike Phelan, who's got experience, he could do with somebody else in his backroom staff to help him, because he's got Carrick is learning on the job. He's got McKenna who's come through, but McKenna is still pretty, he's been come through from the reserve team at United. So he could probably do with another experienced hand to help him if he is going to stay at United.
I think he was the one who went on to manage Fulham. It wouldn't have been too much harm getting
Rennie
him
Molstein. Rennie Molstein.
Yeah, Molstein. Just get Molstein in there.
I'd like to see him back. He was a very good coach at United. He was very good under Ferguson. Again, you listen to him do interviews. He knows his stuff. He's a very good coach. So yeah, somebody like Molstein would be a help to Solskjaer. Whether they would go for him or not, I don't know. But I think one of the things with Ferguson was his art of delegate. Why he did so well at United was he was able to delegate a lot of his duties. He wasn't always taking the coaching sessions himself. He'd allow Brian Kidd or Steve McLaren, Rennie Molstein, whoever it was, to take charge sometimes while he was looking at the bigger picture. And I think the bigger clubs, you need that. You can't do everything yourself.
I think even at Watford, take the bull by the horns and take the training, but he's got a good team around him that he see, like you said, if he needs to sit back and stand back and look at the bigger picture, then he's got those experienced coaches around him to carry that on that training. He can just observe from looking from the outside in. But going back to the results, I mean, even when we haven't had many spankings against these big sides at home, it's only when we go away. When we played you, we haven't really been bashed too much away. At home, it's always been tight. Like you said, a 3-2.
Well, even at Old Trafford, it's been quite tight as well. I mean, they've generally been something like 1-0s generally, like you've had quite recently with both Leeds and Arsenal, where although you've lost the game, it's been very close. I mean, you were unlucky against Arsenal. But again, it's kind of knowing which Watford will turn up, because you spanked Everton a few weeks before that. I know. And then you lost 1-0 to Leeds and then 1-0 to Arsenal. Now, the Leeds one, I fancied Watford to kind of kick on and get something out of that one. Arsenal, okay, they're on a run at the moment, so maybe I didn't fancy Watford to beat Arsenal, but I did fancy them to get something against Leeds. So I mean,
it's so Watford. That's why we're where we are at the moment. We debate this plenty of times on the TMA podcasts during the weekend, and we just need to find that consistency. Like you said, we go to Everton and spank them, then we play Southampton, put in a dire performance and get beaten, and should have really been out of sight by half time. Then we'll play something stupid, like we'll play Leicester away or play you guys on Saturday, beat you or get a very good performance and get a draw. Go away to necessarily, it don't have to be a massive club, no offense, it could be someone like, a Norwich or a Brentford's, have them at home and put in a shoddy performance. But I think Ranieri's getting his ideas across, and a couple of people have always commented on saying, look, it is a new squad. They are gelling. Ranieri's had a bit more time to install what he wants from the players. And in all, we can see what he's trying to get at. It's just trying to implement all those ideas and put it into reality on the pitch. And thing is, though, if we can get anything from the next 4 games, including against you guys as well, which is obviously, it's Man United. It's a tough ask. No matter where they are in the table, United are one of the world's massive clubs. You've still got world-class players in most positions there. And any slight slip from us is going to give us an absolute pasting. But if we're going to implement our ideas, or Ranieri's going to try and get us through tough waters and into, we've got a slight, not easiest sides, but if you could class Burnley and Brentford as easier than Chelsea and Man City, then they are easier fixtures coming up after the 4. So if we can get anything from these 4, which I say, as crazy as it sounds, I'm more confident of getting something at the Leicester and United games than obviously the Chelsea and the City ones. But, you know.
I mean, I mean, the reason I said 3-2 towards the start, like you said, they generally have been going back to that just a sec, was because both defences have been leaking goals.
Yeah.
And, you know, United can't keep a clean sheet for love nor money. So that's why I fancy Watford to score. The thing with Watford is when they do tend to score in games, more often than not, they tend to score 2, 3, 4, 5 goals. You know, they do. But it's when they're not scoring goals that they're then leaking at the back a lot of the time. But I think with Ranieri, you've got a good manager there. I mean, he's obviously won the league at Leicester City. I think he doesn't get the credit he deserved for his time at Chelsea, in that I think he had quite a good squad. He finished second in his final year there, and he put together a good squad. Okay, Mourinho added 1 or 2 players, but it was by and large Ranieri's squad.
Yeah, a bit like when Ranieri came in with for Pearson. It was pretty much Pearson's squad. He added, tweaked, just improved rather than you know, like a lot of managers do, come in, get rid of all the ex-manager players and bring in their own players. Like you said, Ranieri did it, Mourinho did it. It was pretty much their own sides and just added little things. I think that's what done Moyes in the end. You know, and you can it proves what a good coach is and what he's doing at West Ham. That he didn't just build on what you already had and move it on slightly another level.
I think
he went a bit stale, didn't it?
I think with Moyes, if you're going back to his time at Old Trafford, I never thought he was a bad manager, and I think some of the criticism he got at his time at United was harsh. My attitude with Moyes is I can't really judge him as either a success or a failure at United because he wasn't given the time. I don't think he wasn't given enough time to put in his own team. A lot of those players would come into the end, so he needed to rebuild a side, and he wasn't given that opportunity to do that. I thought Moyes' main mistake at United, and it's 2 things rolled into one. He tried to take everything on himself like he'd done at Everton rather than step back more. And also, while I can understand he wanted to bring in his own staff, that is natural, he really could have done with keeping like a Rennie Mullenstein or Mike Phelan in the first team, rather, because he offered Rennie Mullenstein a role, but it was for the reserve team. Which Rennie said, like thanks, but no thanks.
Liverpool, wasn't it? A bit like Liverpool, sort of the transition. Keep people that are within the club. And it's a similar thing to Watford, where we've brought in the likes of Jono, Richard Johnson, good friend of TMA's, and Jimmy Gilligan back as well, club legend, both club legends, in and around, that know the surroundings, know the club, know what it means to play for Watford. And you've got they're working at the moment, they're working with the youngsters. My argument is, if we and similar thing to Everton, they've got Big Dunk, fantastic appointment there. Big Dunk there. They've had Colin Harvey as a coach there as well, and ex-players, and it'd be similar sort of thing to Watford. If we could get someone, obviously Gibbo won't, but if we had someone like a Gibbo or someone around, got 1 or 2
knows
legends,
the ethos. He knows the ethos. Knows what
Watford
is about. Understands the culture and understands what the fans want from Watford.
We need something like that. You know, we need to. I mean, Blissett will never do it, but I'd love to have Big Luther in and amongst that, and club legends that can actually coach as well. By the way, which obviously we know Luther can and Gibbo can. Kenny Jackett being one, just legends around that of good coaches. That, you know, understand the surroundings, and like you said, the transition of those coaches. You keep them in there, and it helps. It can only help the head coach that's coming in, because our ethos at our club is we get rid of the head coach and usually everything doesn't change. Everything else doesn't change. It's just the figurehead at the front. That was the whole Duxbury's, you know, explanation of why we chop and change. And you know what the TV's like. Sky were doing it all the way through the Arsenal game. Oh, look, he's kept his job. But, you know, this is the longest someone's kept his job. And this is how many managers they've had, and
Mhm.
you know that's how we operate. I mean, with Watford, we still get disgusted with like Sir Pearson and you know all these managers go, but we know
Well,
the system of how they work there.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I thought Pearson did a very good job at Watford. I
He did,
thought.
yeah.
I go back to something I said we were discussing a week or so ago. I think he almost lost his job for just being honest at some of those players, which I think partly,
Yeah.
again, United maybe have a problem at the moment with is that some of the players, there's a few players, because my dad, who's a season ticket holder at Old Trafford, was watching the warm up against Liverpool, and he was saying the guy who we signed from Dortmund was warming up with the subs, and they were just messing around. They weren't doing a proper warm up, whereas the players that were starting for United were going through the drills properly. And he says that's a worrying sign with Sancho at the moment. Nobody's doubting his ability,
No,
but
definitely
I
not.
think, there's something going on behind the scenes with him, along with a few others. I think there's an attitude problem with a few of them. And one of the things I was mentioning that I don't like after matches when United have lost is when you see players coming out on their social medias and saying, "Sorry, we'll be up for the next one. We're United,
Oh,
this,
you
that,
get
and
it
the
here
other."
as well.
And I remember I think it was Roy Keane said on Sky TV a couple of years ago when United had lost a match, "You should be up for that game that you just played. Never, you should be up for every match. It doesn't matter what level you are, whether it's Oldham Athletic, Manchester United, Watford, Luton, whoever, whatever team
Yeah,
you're playing for, but you should always be up for a match, and every match that you play, particularly as a professional footballer." And this idea that we'll be up for the next one, you should have been up for that one, and you're to me, and I'm sure most Watford fans would say the same thing in regards to Watford. When they lose a match, Watford's players' way of saying sorry, and the same for United, is to go in, put in a session all week to prove to the manager that you're worthy of a spot for the next match. And then if you are lucky enough to get picked, you go out there, you make sure you put in a performance and win the match. Then you apologise after winning that match to the fans for. That's the way you apologise, is putting in a performance and winning the games, not coming out on social media.
yeah, true, mate. True, mate. Right. We'll shoot off live, but guys and girls, thank you ever so much for watching. Just watch out for us Friday night. We'll be previewing this once again with Super Danny Iron and Mr. Chris Hanchett. Beggars, I'll speak to you straight after we go off live,
Yeah,
mate. All right.
no problem.
But yeah, no, look, lovely insight as ever, mate. I'll definitely get you on a few more times. But you're going to you're going back to America, aren't you? Is it New York?
I'm going to New York tomorrow night to see my sister, who moved out there literally a week before COVID struck in 2020 to start a law career. So yeah, I'll be seeing her for the first time in 18 months. So
You found a bar. You go find a bar to watch the game.
oh yes, yep.
Yeah, I'll definitely message her. No doubt, you'll message me,
I'll
mate.
tell you a
So,
funny story actually
yeah, go
before
on.
it shoots up.
Yeah, go on.
In '98, I had a Watford shirt on when I went to Disney World. Do you remember the old CTX one?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. And I was wandering around with the shirt on, and Disney had just opened a new ride at the Animal Kingdom called Countdown to Extinction. I had a few Americans come up to me and said, "Where do you buy the shirt?" They thought it was for the ride Countdown because they saw the CTX and they thought it was for the ride Countdown to Extinction.
Oh, brilliant.
Thinking Elton John's missing a marketing trick here for Watford.
Could have bloody done, I tell you, mate.